Hi everyone, I'm Ryan, the Student Director of the Law Clinic for this academic year. I work alongside Samantha and Hannah, who are your Vice Directors, and the rest of the Student Committee, who you will be introduced to shortly. Today we intend to take you through some of the essentials in working at the Law Clinic in order to manage your expectations and formally introduce you to what it is like to work at a university law clinic. To give you an idea of our schedule for the evening, I will begin by giving you a brief introduction of the clinic. We will then acquaint you with the Law Clinic staff, executive team, and the student committee. Then we will discuss the clinic handbook and casework before moving on to opportunities at the Law Clinic, and finish by talking about our upcoming Meet the Committee and Q&A event. Firstly, I'd like to say congratulations to all of our new recruits. There was particularly tough competition this year as we received over 400 applications for only 68 places. So far this year, we have also been developing our partnership with our sponsor. Our sponsor is the international law firm Osborne Clarke, and we have been working with them to produce a training video on commercial awareness, emotional resilience, and work-life balance. Please keep an eye on your email and the Q&A, as full details will be published here. This event will be virtual and will also offer you the opportunity to network and engage in a Q&A with lawyers from the firm. This replaces the usual in-person training we do with them annually and will supplement the in-house training that the Law Clinic staff are providing. I mentioned the weekly bulletin. I would encourage you all to read this. It comes out on a Friday and includes many updates and useful information from both the committee and the Law Clinic staff. Now I'll move on to our first year training scheme. We understand that this is well underway. Several members of the committee are peer mentors in this scheme, and like everything else, this will be virtual for the time being. The skills that you will be tested on and trained on are client interviewing, drafting letters of advice, corresponding with the opponent, and considering strategies and next steps. Students will need to actively participate in the given tasks and complete them to a satisfactory degree. I will now hand over to James, who will talk to you about the people involved in the clinic.
Hi, my name is James Lowe, and I'm the Training and Recruitment Manager at the Law Clinic. In brief, my role is to assist in recruitment as well as the first year training scheme. So, speaking of the people at the clinic, we have 4 supervisors, and one of whom is currently on maternity leave. So, these supervisors help us with our casework, and more specifically, they approve our letters of advice and are often there to clear some of our doubts during the process of handling a case. They are Omar on the left, John in the middle, Kate, who is not currently in this photo, as well as Sumaya on the right. And Sumaya is currently on maternity leave, but will be returning to us shortly. So moving on, we have our student committee. Ryan, our director, Hannah and Samantha as our vice directors, Ayushi, our senior outreach manager, Esme and Zoe, our outreach managers, Antonuki and Jack, our community law managers, myself, the training and recruitment manager, who will also be aiding with the development and running of the first year scheme, along with a few other mentors from the committee. Janika, our media and publicity manager, Connor, our treasurer and events manager, Vala, our general secretary, and our first year reps, who we will be announcing shortly. So, in the next week, on Monday, you will have the opportunity to meet us all, where you can ask questions regarding casework or, in specific, anything to do with community law or outreach projects. And finally, we have our executive team, who are permanent staffs at the Law Clinic. We have Louise Chalice and Liz Brealey, and you would have seen these names during the weekly bulletin that the Law Clinic publishes. And so now I will pass you on to Hannah to talk about casework as well as the clinic handbook.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm one of the student vice directors on the committee this year, and I'll just be talking about casework in general and the student handbook. So you'll find the Law Clinic handbook and all the mandatory case forms on SharePoint. The handbook is quite detailed and informative, so if you hadn't had a chance to read through it completely, I'd definitely do so. Should you have any queries as you work on cases, it's always worth double checking with the handbook to see if you can find your answer there before reaching out to the clinic. As most of you will now be aware, you will be allocated to work on cases in pairs. Once you've received an email from the clinic assigning you to a case, it's up to you to reach out to your case partner. And once you've heard back from them, you can let the law clinic know you're both able to start working on the case. Then you're free to reach out to your client. Your first email to the client should be to introduce yourselves and to set up your first virtual meeting at the client's convenience. And ideally, this should be within a week of allocation. At your first client meeting, you should complete all the initial forms, which just permit the client to be advised by the clinic. As student legal advisors, we never offer on-the-spot advice to clients, and so it's just important to make them aware of this. After you have a meeting, make sure you update the case file with all your notes. It's essential that the issues in the case are clear, so that should the case require handing over to new students, they're able just to pick up where you left off. So after you've had your first meeting, you'll be able to research the legal issues at hand. It's important that any legal advice you end up sending out has been approved by your supervisor. And at the end of the case, make sure to close it completely by filling out the necessary case closure forms on SharePoint. So in the interest of confidentiality, it's always best to keep any case-related information on the case file in SharePoint. If you do end up with any documents regarding the case on your personal computer, just make sure these are all deleted when the case is closed. It's also essential to keep an equal division of work between you and your case partner. And the best way of ensuring this is just having an open line of communication between the two of you. This also helps give a professional service to the client and is just part of being a responsible member of the clinic. Some other points of note are to copy your case partner and the Bristol Law Clinic inbox into all your emails to the client, and just to politely request that the client reply all. We understand that sometimes mistakes are made. In these scenarios, it's best just to let a member of staff know as soon as possible. The team at the Law Clinic are really friendly and they're there to support you throughout all your casework. So I will now pass you on to Samantha.
Hi, I'm Samantha, one of the student vice directors. I work alongside Hannah to oversee the student committee. Some of my responsibilities include organizing the clinic's annual sweatshirt sale and assisting with the training and recruitment of new members. I'm going to talk you through some of the key provisions of the clinic's disciplinary procedure, which can be found in the student handbook. A member would be regarded to have breached his or her law clinic obligations if no valid reason is provided for failing to attend meetings, refusing casework, failing to complete casework, or completing them to an unacceptable standard. Member also breaches his or her obligations by failing to respond to communications from their case partner, clients, student committee, executive assistants, and supervisory teams within 72 hours. If you have breached your obligations, you will be subject to disciplinary action which may lead to expulsion from the law clinic. But of course, we are extremely reluctant to resort to any sort of disciplinary action. Law clinic members have generally demonstrated a professional and committed approach in their work, and we hope that this continues to be the case this academic year. Please also note that acting dishonestly could lead to the clinic having to invoke disciplinary procedures as well. If you haven't read the student handbook yet, I highly recommend you do so to get a better idea of what has been discussed in this presentation. The handbook can also be found on SharePoint. Next, I would like to talk to you about the well-being at the clinic. We understand that the workload we have can be quite daunting, especially if you get very demanding cases. Sometimes it can get quite overwhelming, but we want you to know that we take the well-being of our members very seriously. You are more than welcome to speak to the student committee about any concerns you may have, or you can also approach any member of staff. If you are a new member especially, do remember that we've all been there, and we'd be happy to support you in any way that we can. And of course, outside of the clinic, the university has accessible resources for student well-being as well. Further details of these resources can be found on SharePoint. I'll now hand it over to Ayushi to introduce the outreach work at the clinic.
Hello, I'm Ayushi and I'm the Senior Outreach Manager for this year. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about what outreach is. So, outreach came from the idea that the law is obviously not accessible, which is why a lot of us are in the clinic to try to help make the law more accessible. But equally, our offices in Clifton and our reputation as a uni and the sort of uni bubble that we were living in is also inaccessible for some sections of society. And for this reason, we started our outreach and community law initiatives, and we take them very seriously in terms of furthering the work of the clinic and furthering the mission of the clinic, really. We have many partnerships with local organisations, of which we'll talk to you in more detail in the next few slides, but we're always looking to expand our outreach programs, and last year we added quite a few as well. This year in outreach we have Click Sergeant, 125, BDP, Bristol Mind and Barton Hill. Outreach tends to be formatted through drop-ins, where we would go to the partner organisation and essentially just conduct a legal drop-in where we take in questions, not answer anything on the spot, but open a case if need be, or otherwise return to the person who asked the question with an answer after it's been checked off by whoever the solicitor is. So this year that's changing a little bit, and we're doing a more workshopy aspect to some of our outreach programs, such as Mind, and we're also doing more fundraising things with other outreach programs, such as, for example, Click Sergeant. So this year is quite interesting for reworking our partnerships. As I said before, outreach has always been about making the law and making the clinic more accessible. So it's really about meeting our partner organisations where they are and helping them within the limits of what we can do due to COVID in the best way that we can. So now I'm going to hand over to Zoe and Esme, who are going to talk more specifically about the individual projects they manage.
Hi everyone, I'm Zoe. I'm in my third and final year of my law degree and I'm an outreach manager. Recently we recruited for a few outreach projects, so you may have seen Click Sergeant on the application, but essentially Click is a charity focused on providing support to families when their child has been diagnosed with cancer. Normally we conduct drop-in sessions at a home called Sam's House, and that's set up for families based outside of Bristol who have children getting treatment at the Children's Hospital here in Bristol. Due to the pandemic, however, our sessions are likely to take place on Zoom this year, and we will be fundraising for Click and the families this term, so keep an eye out for those events and help out if you can. I'm also in charge of Peony, which is a branch of 125. So 125 is a charity which aims to contribute to the immediate well-being needs of women in crisis in street sex work, and that's run through women-only safe houses and a van service. Peony, which is the moving on service that the law clinic works with, aims to assist former women in crisis with practical help. So that's like finances and emotional and practical well-being too. We usually run drop-in sessions weekly, but right now the project isn't running this term. But applications are likely to go out next term when our work picks up again. So if you're interested in joining the team, keep an eye out for that. It's worth noting that applications are only open to female clinic members. But if you have any questions about what I've talked about, just pop me an email and I'll pass over to Esme now.
Hello, I'm Esme and I'm one of the outreach managers this year alongside Zoe. The partnerships I'm overlooking are BDP, Bristol Mind, and Barton Hill Settlement, which is also known as the Wellspring Settlement. Bristol's Drug Project helps people who struggle with substance dependencies and focuses on harm reduction as opposed to drug prevention. Bristol Mind works with vulnerable people suffering with different mental health issues. This year, alongside case referrals, we will be researching and creating legal workshops which will inform on legal problems which may otherwise be inaccessible. The Wellspring Settlement is a community building service which works with other advisory institutions to help uplift the local community. This year we are running online Zoom drop-ins, providing legal advice on a variety of different issues for people who would otherwise struggle to gain the help they need. I will now pass on to Jack and Atanuki to talk about community law.
Hello everyone, my name is Jack. I'm a second year law student and Atanuki and I are the community law managers for this year. Community law is a scheme designed to give legal education and provide resources to institutions like local schools, charities, and our student union. We work by recruiting students in the clinic to join our cohort of applicants and from there delegate projects as and when they arise. Each team is comprised of members from varying year groups with one student leading the project. It's an initiative-based scheme where Atanuki and I give out a project brief and let our teams complete it using the legal knowledge we have as clinic members in a creative and innovative way by producing leaflets, booklets, or presentations. Community law is important to help us do our part in improving access to justice and providing valuable public service. It's a community responsibility for us to help equip people with the requisite knowledge, skills, and confidence they need. I'll now hand over to Atanuki to discuss the sorts of projects we do and the services we offer.
Following on from Jack, my name is Atanuki and I will be discussing the kinds of projects we run here in the community law team. Most recently, we have completed a project with the Student Union in collaboration with their My Rent, My Rights project. Here, we created fact sheets about the rights of a student tenant and what the duties of a landlord are, as well as introduce students to the tenancy deposit scheme. Through this project, we aimed to promote amicable tenant-landlord relationships. We also focus on providing a grassroots approach to legal education through working with various schools. This allows young students to develop their legal understanding and awareness. Currently, we are working with Cotham School on various initiatives such as promoting healthy relationships and anti-racism. We also aim to provide students with a flavour of what it is like to study law. In addition to this, we aim to work with domestic abuse charities such as SafeLink, providing resources, workshops and leaflets on the meaning of coercive controlling behaviour as referenced in the Serious Crimes Act. We also think it is important to provide information on demystifying legal terminology, allowing people to feel more comfortable and familiar with the law and their rights. Finally, following the university's signing of the Armed Forces Covenant, we are keen to play a part in ensuring that ex-servicemen and current members of the armed forces and their families receive fair treatment. We therefore aim to inform previous and current servicemen of their legal rights, welfare benefits, and their protection under the law. I will now hand over to Vala, who will talk about the Law Clinic sweatshirt sale and our event next Monday.
Hi everyone, my name is Vala and I'm the General Secretary. The sweatshirt sale is unlikely to be in person this year due to the restrictions, and we're currently working with the university to enable these to be purchased online. Please see the Law Clinic bulletin for updates regarding this. But in the meantime, here are some images of the sweatshirts modelled by one former and two current committee members, Hannah and Connor. The Law Clinic Committee is holding Meet the Committee /Q&A event on Monday the 7th of December. This is a great opportunity for any outstanding questions to be put to the committee. It is also a brilliant opportunity for anyone interested in applying for a committee position for the 2021/2022 academic year, as it will enable you to meet the committee and ask various questions about the roles. We do expect members applying for the committee to have shown an interest in the role in which they are applying for, and reaching out to the current post holders is a great place to start. Thank you very much for watching.